time. That was really weird because I was live on my end. It was uploading to YouTube. You can go back and watch the whole 15-minute live I just did on YouTube, and it's there, but apparently nobody could see me, so I don't know what was going on there. I'm coming to you via Starlink from a very remote part of Panama, up here in the northern coast, that is the Caribbean side of Panama, in a place called Carti. Carti is it's a port, little tiny port right there. And that is where the migrants are now leaving from to go back to Colombia. So I'm just going to make this very short. We'll see if it'll actually work here. But there are hundreds of migrants from around the world who are coming back through Panama now and are, I'm going to move this over here a little bit, coming back through Panama on their way back to Venezuela or to some other country. Now, you've got to understand, like I said yesterday, most of these people did not come from their home country and go to the United States. They weren't leaving Haiti and Cuba and Venezuela and going directly to the US, by and large. What they were doing was leaving Brazil or Ecuador or Chile or Peru, where they had been living for 4 or 5 years, making money, having a life, and then they decided to come to the United States when Joe Biden opened up the floodgates. And by opening up the floodgates, he caused this humanitarian crisis. Many people died in the jungles of Panama trying to cross through the Darien Gap. Hundreds, maybe thousands. At what point we ascertained that probably 10%, 7 to 10% of the people that were crossing through the gap were dying in the gap. Then Alejandro Mayorkas came and made it easier, cheaper, safer, faster for them to get through, and not as many people were dying. But it's still 6 days of misery going through the jungle, very dangerous. And so they would make it from their home country to a third country, like I said, Peru, Chile, Ecuador, Brazil, and we saw coming through the Darien Gap had iPhones and were well dressed, and they would walk through the Darien Gap on their way to the United States, not because they were being persecuted, but because they knew they could make more money. They decided, if I can make $50 or $60 a day in Chile, and I can make $150 a day in the United States, well, I'm going to go to the US. It made them economic migrants, not asylum seekers. But to do that, they had to cross through the Darien Gap here in Panama. Now, because so many of them were unable to get into the United States because the US cut it off, when the U.S. cut off closed the borders, well, then they turned around and started heading back south because they don't want to stay in Mexico. They don't want to stay up there. They were telling, these ones we were interviewing here, were saying, yeah, we couldn't stay in Mexico. We just couldn't make enough money. So we're going to go back to Venezuela, where at least we have family that can help take care of us. Now you're likely to get some buffering here because the connection is not fantastic. With this, the Starlink has been kind of off and on, kind of iffy actually. Sometimes it does great, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not sure what the difference is. Might be because I'm running it off of my truck. I'll show you. I'm running the Starlink off of my truck right here. And I don't know if maybe it's not getting enough voltage or what, but it just doesn't seem to be super strong today. That flag you see back there behind me is a flag for the Guna Yala region. The Guna people, like I told you, are one of the Indian groups the indigenous groups here in Panama, they have made some noise about trying to become their own country. And so that you see these flags flying everywhere. That one, however, does not show what, they have 3 flags that I've seen. One of them has a swastika in the middle of it, which obviously does not mean, what we think it means. It's like a backwards swastika. I'm not sure what they mean by that. Somebody should have probably told them, though, that that's maybe not the best idea. Have you covered the currency they are using? We hear it costs them $12K. A lady I talked to in Tijuana who was wanting to get across the border into the United States, and the cartel charged her $12,000 just to cross the fence. That was not, being able to make the entire journey here, right? And I'm not going to stay on this live too long because A, the connection's not great, and B, the white people are melting out here. It's hot, and I'm getting sunburned. So I'm going to get my footage and get on the road. But so yeah, the amount of money it costs them to go from here back to Colombia around the Darien Gap by boat is about $200 to $300. It's a 7 to 8 hour journey in one of those boats you see floating right out there. Here, I'll turn the camera around so we can zoom in on that. We'll zoom in on those boats. There's some people getting on a boat right over there. You see the boat there? Here, I'll move a little bit. That boat is the boat that people are taking That's the boat people are taking on an 8-hour journey. You see it has 2 motors on it. And they have a backup motor because you don't want to get stuck at sea in one of those things. There's a guy out there in a boat, right there. And this is, 10 o'clock in the morning. So the wind is going to get worse as the day goes on, and the waves will get higher. And it's a pretty miserable trip. I've been on a couple of trips like that here in Panama. These boats are called pangas. So that guy's taking off now.